Hello, welcome to This Is Us. I'm Becca King-Reed. This week, we're at Ballet San Jose. We're going to see how a ballet goes from idea to performance. You'll see dancers, choreographers, composers, and costumers at work. We've got a lot of stories to share, and it all starts now.
This is us.
This is us. This is us.
Welcome back. Joining me now is the music director for Ballet San Jose, George Daugherty. George, thank you. That's lovely.
Nutcracker.
Nutcracker. Well, so reason it is so familiar. Tell me about conducting music for a ballet. How do you start that process?
Well, you know, in many ways it's like normal conducting, where you're just conducting an orchestra. You're still dealing with the music and the composer and the orchestra. But with ballet, there's this wonderful, wonderful addition of a stage full of dancers. And that makes all the difference in the world because as a ballet conductor, we not only are holding court over the whole orchestra, but we're also making the music be danceable, making the tempos be the tempos that the dancers need. There are all kinds of little details that come up in a ballet performance that the conductor has to be totally aware of. And every dancer is different. So every dancer, every principal dancer has a different tempo, even if it's the same ballet from night to night. So there's a lot of keeping track of details when you're conducting for the ballet.
What do you think is the biggest challenge you face on a nightly basis?
Well, one of the biggest challenges is the changing of casts. You, in a ballet like Don Quixote or the Nutcracker, you can have 4 different principal ballerinas on 4 consecutive nights. And each one of them has their own special needs. They dance differently. That's what makes live music so incredibly wonderful for ballet performances, is that you can make those changes from night to night, and you can really make the music mirror and be absolutely perfect for the dancer that is dancing.
Now there are a lot of companies are going to the recorded music, and that's going to make a difference then.
It does make a difference because when you have a recorded track that you dance to every night, all of the dancers have to dance to the same exact music, and they have to make the adjustments. Whereas with a live orchestra, we make the adjustments to the dancer. So some dancers are faster, some dancers are slower, some balance forever, some do 10 pirouettes. So when you're conducting, you're able to accommodate all of that and make the music match, you know, the individuals of each. Plus the sound that comes from a live orchestra. For Ballet San Jose, we have Symphony Silicon Valley in our pit. The sound of 60 live musicians coming from this hole in front of the stage, the orchestra, as we lovingly call it, the orchestra pit. It's a fantastically visceral experience for the audience as opposed to a recorded track coming on.
Okay, thanks so much for taking us behind the curtain for this. Welcome back. Joining me now is Wes Chapman, Artistic Advisor for the ballet. Thanks, Wes, for bringing us up to your fun Studio E.
Well, we're glad to have you here.
Now, tell me a little about your role and how you get a ballet from the idea to the actual stage production.
Well, that's one of the great things that I get to do, is to have the artistic vision for the company. For example, Jessica Lange is here with us making a new work, and I have known Jessica for quite some time. We have this new composition that's going to be really, really exciting. I'm looking very much forward to seeing how it comes out. It's always a risk. You never know how it's going to go in the end, and the visual sometimes is not what you expected, but sometimes it's always better.
So what's the biggest challenge you're facing right now to get this program going?
This particular program with Jessica, we're right in the beginning stages, so that's always interesting and fun. But once it starts to really come together, it's really out of my hands and into the creative process, and that's really what I like to see happen.
And what do you do to influence or support that creative process?
Well, with Jessica in particular, I'm assisting her. I sit with her a lot. She'll whisper things to me and say, you know, what about this person with that person? And I'll go, maybe this one with that one. And she goes, oh, okay. And I know the history of the dancers, so that really helps her.
What is the story of this ballet?
There isn't one. there's dance for dance sake, and that's going to be one of these pieces.
Is that more challenging than one with a story, or are the stories more challenging?
Well, usually modern choreographers are very interested in sort of their own take on whatever it is they're going to do. I personally grew up in the great classics, so I'm really good at that stuff.
So is this heavily influenced by the choices of music that are being made?
Absolutely. Everything is based on how the music inspires you.
Well, thanks very much for giving this backstage peek. When we come back, we'll take a look behind the scenes with the choreographer. Welcome back. Joining me now is choreographer Jessica Lange. Jessica, thanks for taking time from your lunch to join us up here in Studio E.
Thank you so much.
Now tell us about your new ballet. You're putting together a ballet, a brand new one. Tell us from start to finish, how did you get your first idea?
Well, I met a composer, Jakub Czapinski, a few years ago, and I was really drawn to the way he works. He's an electronic, well, he's a classical composer as well, but one of his interests is electronic music, and he does a brilliant improvisation with theremins, electronic theremins, and it's a long board with two antennas that come up, and he has written a computer program that kind of indicates the space as being instrumental, percussion, maybe horns, and he plays the field in front of him, and it makes music.
So he will score what you've already created then?
Yes.
Ah, so how do you put together the dance movement without music to go by?
We find physical phrases, feeling, emotional reaction. Sometimes it's very intellectual. It's an intellectual response to maybe numbers and math. And we just put it together in a rhythm that kind of feels organic.
So do you do that all in your head or by moving around the floor, or do you have dancers try things?
They try things. I definitely create the movement, but we play with moments of chance and reaction, and I just keep playing, kind of moving the pieces and the sculpture around the space and seeing what I like best.
So you're looking for the visual of how they appear with each other and between each other in the space that's between them and all of that together.
Yes, absolutely.
When do you know you're on the right track?
I think I found it. I've definitely found we've started, we're moving forward, and both casts are really becoming owning the movement and material.
Okay. Well, thanks so much for taking a minute to talk to us.
Thank you.
Well, it's just about time to bring the curtain down on our day at Ballet San Jose. But first, Lee Kopp has some really fascinating facts about shoes. And you've got a basket of shoes with you.
Got
Tell me
a
about
box of
these
Pointe
things.
shoes. These are very high tech actually, because they consist of a box which is layers and layers of material and glue. Very,
So it's a
very
big,
hard.
hard toe.
Oh, very hard. And a shank. The box fits the toe, helps you stand up. The shank gives you that nice arch. But they're very, very hard, and they break down. So people extend the life of their shoes by maybe darning with silk.
Oh, interesting.
And that gives a little extended life. It also gives you a little
So
stability.
the ballerinas do this themselves
Oh
by
yes,
hand?
oh yes. And some people don't like that shank to be hard all the way back, so they'll pull the shank back, they'll shave it down, and then re-glue it. So you have a hard front and a softer back.
Ah, so when they're done dancing, they can get jobs as shoemakers.
Yeah, they could actually.
What's the cost of one of these pairs of shoes?
Oh, $50 to $100 if it's not a special order.
And how long do they last? They don't look very worn.
That's because it's the inside of the shoe that breaks down first, all right? And they'll last maybe one performance. If you're dancing a Swan Lake, they'll last maybe 2 days
Oh my gosh.
if you're doing rehearsals.
So if you're paid $100 for your shoes and they last 2 days,
Yeah,
that's a lot of shoe
expensive.
money.
Yeah, we go
Yeah,
through
yeah.
about $100,000 worth of Pointe shoes a year.
Now I noticed that they're all signed, beautifully signed.
Yes.
Autograph shoes.
So we
Why the
know how
autographs?
many pairs she wore, because she gets a shoe allowance. If she goes beyond that, then we have to figure
Oh, she's
something
on her
else out.
own.
Yeah.
Well, shoe allowance. Someone take a note. I'd like a shoe
You want a
allowance.
shoe
I
allowance?
want a
Oh,
shoe
okay.
allowance. Thank you so much, Lee. For all of us at This Is Us from Ballet San Jose, I'm Becca King-Reed saying so long.
This is us.
This is us.
This is us.